So currently I'm analyzing the business correspondence of the founders of Montandon Brothers Locle, and in investigating the material here I find from the papers, this is from letters from 1833. First of all, this is attributed to Charles-Frédéric Montandon. However, due to clues in the text, it is probably more likely that this was done by one of his other brothers, either David-Henri or possibly the other brother. But this is, again, not 100% sure. It does seem likely that this is the case. The author has some very interesting shorthand notes. For example, in the dates, if we look, here we see 15/9, this is BRE. And for example, he has an interesting system for September, for example. He'll use 7 BRE for September. October is actually done as 8 BRE. And so this is actually, this 9 BRE is actually in November. So this is from November 15th, this particular letter. And what we find is corresponding with somebody in Besançon, and this was Jacob Baron. But it's very interesting because we can see how his business deals have been set up. And the next entry is to Paris, a letter he wrote to Monsieur Leroy, who was the horologer for the King of France, watchmaker to the French king. And it's interesting that he was via Montandon brothers supplying the French king's watchmaker with various pieces. And once again, we see that he has sent some pieces through Jacob Baron. So clearly they were focused on the French market. I see this a lot, but it's what I find interesting is the information about this order. And once again, we see a previous order from the 16th of September. This had 2 invoices, and these numbers may also actually correspond with movement numbers, which I find interesting. There seems to be strong evidence to suggest this. And if we break this order down, what we find is there are 2 watches, 2 repeater watches with cylinder movement, cuvette d'or, so it has a golden cuvette or case, and the movement is a breguet. And we also find the size is 17 linea. And then we go to the pricing. And usually you'll see FF for franc français, but here we have it. One of the watches is 280 French francs, and the other is 560 French francs. So it's a more deluxe version of a repeater for Monsieur Leroy. But this is basically, in a nutshell, what sort of ledger information we see recorded in these transactions, which there are approximately 100 pages of material in the correspondence, and this is between the years 1833 to 1835. And these were very formative years for the Montandon Brothers Locle brand, because as we'll find out later, the brothers in Switzerland were moving more away, more independently into their own business, growing their own business. So we will find this happening around this period. Their children were always training in Paris, at Montandon Frères in Paris. However, by the late 1840s, it seems to become clear that the cousins that were running the business were more interested in watch and spring manufacture, watch and clock spring manufacture. So they seem to be moving away from actually making the watches, selling the watches, and this may have been one of the areas of discontent why the groups split into separate businesses more or less.